Today's movie is Argo. It's directed by Ben Affleck and got 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. On November 4th, 1979, militants stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, Iran, taking 66 American hostages. Amid the chaos, 6 Americans managed to slip away and find refuge with the Canadian ambassador. Knowing that it's just a matter of time before the refugees are found and likely executed, the U.S. government calls on extractor Tony Mendez, Ben Affleck, to rescue them. Mendez's plan is to pose as a Hollywood producer scouting locations in Iran and train the refugees to act as his film crew.
Argo is a thriller drama, and we are going to be talking about how thrilling it was, the characters, the plot, the cinematography, the pacing, and we are going to rate it out of 100%. So, I just watched this movie. You just watched this movie. What do you think? How did it portray?
Well, I think it was a great movie. I like that it was a true story. That really adds to it. This true story was crazy enough to not be a true story. Some true stories are the true story, which you'll expect, and then the acting makes it a good movie.
Yeah.
The true story itself made the movie, I think. Just a crazy concept.
Definitely. I love true stories. True stories are very fun. Like Dope Sick, that's a TV show, is a true story.
Yeah.
And Argo here is a true story. And Deepwater Horizon, which we covered, which was a true story. That one also being crazy.
Yeah.
And true stories, I just think, are more fun. I don't know. They make you learn things about what happened in the world. I learned about,
Bit of history,
the history and the crisis in Iran back in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no idea.
I had no idea myself either. Didn't learn that in school, so learned about that.
One of the things I thought was crazy was they spent 444 days down there.
Yeah, the 60 people or 66 people that were captured.
Mm-hmm.
They said that at the end, and that's a long time. That's a year and a bit.
So one of the most powerful countries in the world right now can't get their people out in less than a year. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, and well, they didn't want them to die. It was a hostage situation at a national level.
I guess so. I still think more could have been done.
That's true.
I should hope so. It's such a big country.
As you go up in grander scale, maybe you have a hostage situation with a few people in a house. That's going to be less time than at a national level. You have the bureaucracy in the way and people, turning down ideas, looking for the best idea. Some people may not want to be perceived bad. Let's say you're, running for president and you don't want to have an idea go bad and look bad on your running. So you don't even try anything.
Yeah.
And just the little things that may get in your way and just slow things down.
That's a good point.
So at a national level, it's just slower and stuff like that.
Yeah. I was surprised it was a year and a quarter. That seems a little crazy, but
it's a long time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
And the conditions they're living in probably aren't good.
Probably they didn't show us too much about it, but probably would have been because they
showed us the one scene in the basement.
Yeah. And them pretending to kill them.
The worst form of torture, maybe.
I don't even know what they were trying to achieve there.
Yeah.
Maybe they were a problem for them, so they tried to scare him or something. But,
I have no idea.
And he just falls to the ground and just starts crying.
What? Yeah, exactly. What did they have to gain from that?
I agree.
Nothing. They're simply hostages. Nothing more, nothing less.
I think they're just trying to get back at the U.S. government for, torturing their people.
Indirectly.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, the U.S. government doesn't suffer, the people do. And that's in every case of every disaster. The people suffer, not the government in charge.
Yeah.
They may suffer in appearance, but at the end of the day, they're going to bounce back. And people will forget.
I think to a certain extent, the people are the government. Like, it's the country as a whole.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they got one hostage or they're storming the White House. It's still the nation.
Right.
Yeah.
And so do you think that was a national upset, having them being captured for 444 days?
For sure. 100%. Yeah, of course.
They had the yellow ribbons everywhere. Everyone knew about it,
Yeah.
The yellow ribbon symbolizing that they know that the people are being held against their will and that they hope they're coming back, like pink ribbon for breast cancer or whatnot.
Exactly.
And it's good to have that representation and people know about it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some people can't do much about it themselves, but you can just put pressure on your government to do it.
I guess so.
And get them back.
Yeah.
But then again, pressure might lead them to make bad decisions, and then they don't come back at all. And so...
That's a good point.
It's lose-lose in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
So... I saw a video a while back. It was a YouTube video, and it was this, this lady analyzing spy films, right, and how realistic they are.
Mm-hmm.
And she got to Argo, and she said it's a very accurate movie because her husband was Ben Affleck's character.
In real life?
Yes, in real life.
Wow.
Yeah, Tony Mendez.
Yeah.
Is her husband, and so she knew that Tony, talked to them about the movie and made it more realistic.
Yeah. Huh.
So I thought that was funny knowing that.
That's crazy that you just stumbled across this woman.
Yeah. And it's just funny coincidence, I guess.
So it's super realistic.
Yeah, she said it was 10 out of 10 or maybe 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Super realistic. They had those big chunky phones with the secure lines and all sorts of spy equipment. We didn't see too many wires and stuff. I guess they weren't trying to get information, but
they didn't really need them for what they're doing.
Kind of more traditional spy things when they have a wire. This was an exfil.
Yeah, exactly.
There aren't really any other exfil movies that I know of that are...
I don't know of any.
Trying to get people out, so this is kind of a first of its type.
That we know of, at least, yeah.
Yeah, that we know of. Well, the best of its type, we can say that with confidence.
For sure.
It being a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite aspect of the movie? Was it the plot, the characters?
Well, I know it's a true story, so the directors didn't really come up with it. But I love the idea to pretend to be a film crew.
Yeah.
That was sick.
And how...
Coming in, making his film crew out of the hostages. It's just, such a plan with so many holes in it, and yet it somehow worked. I don't see how that would work. Too many different holes.
I mean, it did work, so clearly there's not too many holes. There's just,
I guess so.
Just enough. I mean, everything.
And then, but also when it cut to the guy forging the stamps in the passports, I'm like, there's no way this works.
Well, he was good at it. You saw how neatly he drew that 0.
But still.
It was just perfect.
I guess.
You couldn't get it. I mean, everything was coming back down to the wire.
Yeah.
Everything was at the last moment. The flight almost left without them. Mm-hmm. Which, you actually realized it wasn't going to leave without them because the flight attendant lady was there on the phone with the spies, so she knew.
She was in on it, yeah.
Yeah, she was in on it, so the flight wasn't going to leave without them. The bus almost didn't start.
Yeah, well, let's go take it back even farther. The police officers almost caught up to them in the plane. I don't know what they would have done, but...
Yeah, driving in the car...
The guy's are they going to shoot the wheels of the plane?
They were. One guy was pulling out his gun to shoot the wheel, and then as he was doing that, it was lifting up. Okay.
Alright, so yeah, that was the final thing. Then the plane almost left without him, almost missed the bus.
Yeah.
Bus almost didn't start. They got detained.
Yeah, they got detained.
And then the one guy who was a little bit iffy about the plan came through and kind of saved their butts there.
Yeah,
that was cool.
He was really clutch in that moment. He was calm. He was talking in whatever language it was. I think it starts with an F, but
I'm not sure.
He was speaking with them in their language and super calm and just conveying that they were the film crew that's trying to leave, and they were actually kind of excited to see that they're a film crew.
Yeah.
The few guys that they left with the sketches and they were reading them, looking at them. He's like, oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And then so he barely convinced them.
Yeah.
Then the guy goes to phone them. They barely get to the phone in time.
Yeah, barely get to... I mean, he's waiting... they're waiting for them to stop filming.
He's
that.
like, yeah, we're going to be in your movie.
And He's like, come on, man, just walk through. You can do it. He's like, oh, screw this. I'm going. Like,
yeah, I wonder what made him just walk through the set.
I think he realized that it was important.
But he didn't know that the phone would be ringing.
I think maybe somebody called them. Well, I guess they were trying to call the office, and they couldn't reach them. I wonder why they were out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
That was...
Well, they were called off, I think.
Well...
And then called back on later.
But they didn't... he said, the film guy, his name was Lester Siegel, so he's probably a real film producer.
Yeah.
He didn't want to call it off. He didn't want to stop. He wanted to stay there and keep doing it. That's what he said when they called him off. He said, no, we're not leaving. We're going to leave it for a little bit longer,
That's true.
So I think they didn't shut down everything, and they, kept the phone lines active. And
so Tony Mendez was shut down the night before.
Yeah.
And he did not confirm or deny on the phone. He just hung up. So we don't know if he's planning to not come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah, the foreshadow.
And then the next day, he shows up. Does he phone back and say, I'm doing it?
Well, he phoned Bryan Cranston's character, Jack O'Donnell, and he talked to him for a second. He said, I'm doing it, and hung up. And
then he goes into a mad rush trying to sort everything out that he just canceled.
Yeah, because
the tickets in particular.
The tickets for the plane, which also came down to the wire the last moment.
Yeah, that was crazy.
She's checking it. It's not here, sir. Oh, it's here now.
Yeah.
At that moment, it got done. I really wonder if some of these aspects were, exaggerated.
Yeah,
in film essence. Because
100%, but it's still, I don't know, it portrays how urgent it was. Maybe how down to the wire it was.
Yeah, but we don't really get to know if it was exaggerated. I feel like some of it.
I think it has to be.
But I think some of it may have come down to the wire, like the police chasing them. That probably was true.
I bet he looked out the window and saw the police. Yeah.
Them, breaking through the door to get into the cars, all that.
And then I was thinking about that. How would they know what happened in the airport after they left?
Yeah, like the Americans.
Yeah. Or just anybody to put it in the film itself. Like, they're not going to go back to Iran and say, yo, were you here on this day in this airport? Did you see how we got out of the airport?
Well, they're not going to have the exact people. They're not going to be like, oh, yes, this guy, Mohammed, was chasing them in the car.
That's what I'm saying. They don't know much, so.
I guess Tony Mendez would have seen them, and he would have reported on that. And that's what they would have known. He would have said 2 cop cars and a Jeep were chasing us. As we were trying to leave. And so...
But I'm just saying, like, the details in between were probably filled in. And they did a good job.
Yeah. It was very tense.
Mm-hmm.
A very tense movie.
100%. And did they show the Canadian ambassador's office being raided at the end there?
Yeah.
That was crazy. They all got out just in time.
Yeah. It was good. The Canadian master, he was played by a Canadian actor.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And that's cool. I think it's, you don't really notice Canadian-American differences in characters, right? It's more irrelevant.
Yeah.
But there they actually cared to get a Canadian.
Or maybe he was just Canadian. We'll never know.
I think it was on purpose.
Yeah, it would be cool if it was.
I mean, if you look at all the other characters, you probably see that they're all American, so...
Yeah, I didn't look.
I think cool. An emphasis on nationalism was, put in there to show that, the Canadians did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Of helping, and at the end they say it was the greatest national cooperation.
Yeah, well, a huge risk for the Canadians.
Yeah, and the ambassador himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the housekeeper.
Yeah, I was like, please don't say anything, and she saves the day, kind of.
Yeah, she was the hidden hero of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And she leaves the country in the end, and so she gets her freedom.
Yeah, she goes to Iraq, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Next door.
She, cared about the people whose house she was looking after. They're probably really nice people,
Mm-hmm. Oh, she got to know them. Yeah. That was good.
Yeah. So when they showed the Hollywood sign, it was broken. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
I think it was in disrepair back then.
That is correct. It was in disrepair back then. So it was Hollywood Land, because I did some research on this, because I was very confused. I thought the Hollywood sign was always tip-top shape, but it wasn't. It was neglected. It was actually built before the Great Depression, and it said Hollywood Land. And
what year lights. Was
that? I'm not sure exactly, but before the Great Depression, which is 1920s.
Okay.
Right. And so it had lights, and it would light up Hollywood Land, and it will all light up Hollywood Land.
Oh, that's cool.
Then over time, it was neglected after the Great Depression, and, you know, the H, you know, fell over completely, one of the O's, and then the other O from earlier in the letter, in the word, and they, later, the people of Hollywood, you know, they wanted to repair it, and so people, you know, put $21,000 each, you know, just different people. Warner Brothers built one of the O's, you know, just some directors, producers, actors.
Like
people,
film-related people.
Yeah, film-related cool. people who like the sign. They all pitched in to repair it, and it has been beautiful ever since.
Yeah.
Nice white, and now it only says Hollywood instead of Hollywood Land.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when that was taken out, but...
I never knew it was called Hollywood Land.
Yeah.
Did the sign say Hollywood Land? I just saw Hollywood.
Not there.
Okay.
There was gone by then.
I see.
I guess they changed the name of the town and got rid of it.
That's really cool.
A little bit of history there.
So why do you think Joe Stafford was so untrusting and so unwilling to just go with this plan that Ben Affleck proposed?
I think it comes down to him being an untrusting person. And that he just was kind of not a risk taker. And he didn't agree with the plan, therefore he didn't trust him. It wasn't an untrust thing, it was kind of a disagreeal of the plan, and saying he doesn't trust him was the easiest way for him to deny wanting to do the plan. And he probably wanted to just sit tight and wait, and he's probably a person who would just like to wait.
But after a year of waiting, was it a year?
No, the 6 people didn't wait a year, they waited about 100 days.
Okay, that's still a fair bit. You'd think they'd be dying to get out of there. And he talks about putting his wife in danger. He's, how could I put her in this position? Like,
yeah.
I know it's a silly plan. This guy you don't know comes in and says, let's make a fake film crew. Let's get out of the country. I know it's a silly plan, but it's the only plan they've had for half a year.
Well, they had the bicycle plan, which I think was a joke.
They don't know about the bicycle plan, though.
Yeah. Did they?
No.
No, the Canadian ambassador knew about the bicycle plan.
Potentially, yeah.
He was in on a lot of things. I think they were in close contact with him. But yeah, the bicycle plan was a joke.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
There's no way. I mean, what, they're gonna send somebody to teach them how to ride a bicycle?
No,
I laughed at that.
They probably know how to ride.
What do you mean? They know how to ride a bicycle. And it's gonna be hard to teach them.
The guy's like, ship it with training wheels. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. And
do you think they were actually joking, or are you just saying it was a joke, like it was a terrible plan?
The bicycle plan?
All those plans, though. The crop inspector plan.
The crop inspector?
Like, were those actual plans, do you think?
Yeah, I think those are actual plans. And Ben Affleck, you know, being the spy guy who's actually done X-Files.
And is going to have to do this X-Files, whatever plan it is. Yeah.
And so he knows how to do it, and he knows that it's not going to work, and he said,
Sir, X-Files are like abortions. You don't want to need one, but when you do, you don't do it yourself.
And so that's what he was referring to himself, being the help that he was going to provide for them. So let's talk a bit about Tony Mendez's character.
Sure.
What did you feel about him? I felt he was very calm. And, you know, his facial expressions were just not there most of the time.
Blank the whole time, yeah.
And which, in my opinion, makes him a good spy.
I think it just shows maybe he's done this 4 or 5 times. He's seen a lot of things.
Right.
Cool under pressure.
He's lived under the X-Fill life.
Mm-hmm.
It must be very intense. And
oh, for sure.
He probably has some good training under his belt, and he's probably a safe person.
Yeah,
calm person.
Sure. Yeah, and all throughout the movie we saw that, like, when they're in the van, people are beating on the glass, everyone's just shaking, and he's just sitting there.
He's just right. He's looking back. He's making sure everyone else is calm. He doesn't care about himself.
Yeah.
He knows he's calm. He's ready for it. And
the whole movie, he's calm.
One last thing
Mhm.
before we end it here is Rotten Tomatoes. They gave it a 96%. Super high.
One of the highest I've ever seen.
I think it won Best Picture of its year, 2012.
Wow. Yeah, 2012.
2012. So, what do you think? Do you think it was the 96 that it?
I mean, I think it's a great movie, but 96 seems super, super high.
Super high.
I'd probably give it around a 90% if I was rating it. What would you give it?
I would give it a bit lower than that, 85.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think it was this perfect movie with no flaws. You know, there was great acting. It was very intense. The plot was interesting, but again, like Kick-Ass, the characters, they just, I don't know, they weren't too in-depth.
Interesting.
I didn't, you don't get too attached to the characters.
Yeah, not at all, actually. You're right.
You didn't really care about the 66 people trapped in the other, the other place that were being held.
Mm-hmm.
You do care about them, but just not as much as 96% would say.
Yeah. No, they definitely could have spent more time on character development.
Why do you think that it was 90 instead of 96? Where did that 6% go?
Similar to your reason, lack of character depth. I just didn't feel connected to anybody, really. I was just watching it for the storyline, watching it for the true story. Not too much emotion. Exactly, yeah.
It was his education.
It was a dramatic history lesson.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, go check out our channel.